We're going to get going with our regular business meeting, starting with roll call.
Jason Olive,
Here.
Barb Moston,
Here.
Joel Worth,
Joel Worth.
Here.
Kurt Roars,
Here.
Kathy Serrano,
Here.
She's here. All right, now we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. All right, so tonight we have something a little bit different because of some technical switchovers. We're not going to have the agenda on the television screens, and for timers, we're going to use, I think, the screen over here. But the agenda is posted on the internet, so everybody can look that up if they need to see it. Next thing we need to do is approve the minutes of the last board meeting. Could I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes of the last board meeting.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you. Next, we need to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers. Could I get a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move to approve payroll and accounts payable.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Mr. Narducci, is there any correspondence tonight?
President, all of the members of the board, there is no correspondence at this time.
Okay. Oh, I do have some correspondence. For other board members, we have a letter from ASBA asking anybody if they'd like to attend the county meeting. I'll pass this along to everybody, see if you guys would be interested in it. Next, we get our student body report. Tonight, we're going to have Ava from Basha High School.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Try to be a little bit closer to the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you that close anyway.
Okay. So sorry, I've been here for 3 years, so it's kind of shocking I still don't know this. Good evening, Mr. Narducci and all the board members. My name is Ava Gilbert, and I am CUSD's Basha High School Student Body President. Thank you all for having me here tonight. I am so honored to be able to show you what Basha High School has done in this last quarter. So first off, we have our Senior Sunrise, which took place on July 28th this year. Senior Sunrise is meant to mark the beginning of senior year, and that is exactly what happened. This year, we had bagels for everyone. They were free. Games such as cornhole and frisbee, and we even had a special appearance by a student drone that was able to catch all of our happy memories on camera. Another activity we had was a huge poster specifically for the class of 2024 to sign. Unfortunately, we do live in Arizona, so at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was already very hot. So while not many people stayed for long, it was an unforgettable start to our senior year. And those are people who attended. On August 16th and 17th, we had our club fair, and it was hosted during all 3 of our lunches. Our club fair is an amazing opportunity for all of our clubs and organizations to promote what their club is all about and things that they do as that club. Many clubs had set out sign-up sheets, remind codes, and even candy, but only if you were lucky enough, for people to join their clubs. This year, there was an amazing turnout, which led to many new people signing up for new clubs. Next, we had our Unified Sports. One of our goals as a student body this year is to raise the attendance at our Unified Games. This year, we promoted all the games online by flyers and announcements. We also held 2 fundraiser nights to help raise money for the Unified teams. This year, they had 3 home games during their football season, and we were able to come and support our Bears during their games. We were even able to attend the famous Battle of Vista against Perry. With the football season coming to an end, our Bears had an amazing 3 wins and 1 loss, and we cannot wait to come back for next quarter, which is soccer. This year, our homecoming was a very early one, but our amazing student government was able to stick it through and make 1 week for the books. Our theme, Bachelor Productions, or in other words, movies. We started off by doing homecoming decor on August 25th and 26th. For these 2 days, we spent about 14 and a half hours decorating our building's hallways for all the students to enjoy. Our F building consisted of Pixar and Marvel, and our C building consisted of Universal and Netflix. So sorry. It was a long 14 and a half hours to say the least, but it gave an opportunity to bond as a student government, and we could not wait for everyone to see the buildings on that Monday morning. These are some of the pictures of us working through those 14 and a half hours. Very artistic people in this class. Next, we had our Homecoming Spirit Week. With our homecoming theme being Bachelor Productions, we had to give a special Spirit Week to honor our amazing theme. Our days consisted of binge watch outfits, also known as comfy clothes, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, also known as dynamic duos, Barbenheimer, which was a very big hit this year, Cowboys versus Aliens, and then on Friday, we also did blackout in honor of the football game that was later that night. This Spirit Week was an infamous one that everyone thankfully enjoyed. Next, we had our Homecoming Carnival on August 30th. We held our annual HOCO Carnival in the Basha High School courtyard. This year at Carnival, we had inflatable attractions, club booths, amazing food trucks, and our very famous Smash-A-Car. Each club is given the opportunity to have a booth at Carnival, which can consist of anything that they want. This year, we had a variety of booths ranging from karaoke to putt-putt. Carnival is open to the public each year. However, this year, we had many families from around the community show up. These are some of our pictures. The one on the left is going to be the flyer, and then the bottom right is the Smash-A-Car, which everyone enjoys every single year. And then we had our homecoming assembly. On September 1st, we had our homecoming assembly. The theme was blackout in honor of the football game that was happening later. We had a huge turnout and participation for this Spirit Day, which made us even more excited for the assembly. At the assembly, we had games such as tic-tac-toe and the Mario Kart game. Our mascot even participated in tic-tac-toe, which made the crowd go wild. We even had a hype video from football to get everyone in the mood for the start of the football season. And then we had our homecoming dance. On September 2nd, we had our homecoming dance. Due to the high volume of people that we were expecting, we had to have our homecoming outside, but it did not disappoint. To match our themes of movies, we had movie posters hung up, a popcorn balloon stand, and a red carpet for everyone to walk down. The red carpet was a huge hit that everyone enjoyed. This year we had an amazing DJ along with a Harkins food truck to fit our theme even more perfectly. These are some of the videos and photos that were sent in by people. On to this week. This week we had our Fall Spirit Week in honor of the Fall Sports Assembly that is coming up this Friday. We are 3 days into the Spirit Week and have already seen much participation from students. Our days are consisting of crazy socks and Birkenstocks, denim and a sweater, salad dressings, which sounds a little unusual, but it was really fun, rhyme without reason, and flannel. That picture in the bottom right, that's the Crocs and socks, crazy socks and Birkenstocks, huge hit, everyone loved. This Friday on September 29th is our last big event before we head into fall break. It's our Fall Sports Assembly. This year the theme is fall, very original. So flannel was the day that was chosen for the assembly. We will be doing activities such as apple bobbing, a relay race, and actually pie in the face. We did get permission slips. And we will be watching performances by our very own Palm and KDC. Without further ado, I am so honored to be able to announce to everyone our Basha High School's student government. We have a very big class, they just keep on coming. First off, we have our student body members. We have Hannah Shambaugh, Jackson Carmichael, Ryan Hudda, Tia Watersmith, Zoe McDonald, Madison Ramsey, Liberty Coons, and Uswa Beg. And then we have our new incoming freshman class, Sadie Brockman, Nyla Hadnot, Selva, Aubrielle Kerr, Evie Lucas, and Brooklyn Osterhout. Now, unfortunately, not many of our sophomore class did show up, but one did. Morgan Plankel, Lizzie Kangas, McKenna Keys, Faith Landfair, and then Alicia Heingardner. We have our junior class, Gage Melton, Kason Torres, Dylan Lucas, Lauren Gonzalez, Peyton Mann, Jillian Wirtz, and Colin Townley. For our senior class, we have Amelia Hansen, Ava Nonemecker, and Ella Donnelly. And then we have our wonderful advisors, Miss Prue, who's over there. She is killing it every single day. And then we do have Miss Campbell, who is not here right now. She's actually at home taking care of a baby. So, but Miss Prue showed up. Thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you very much. That was good. Next, we have our College Board Scholarship winner.
Thank you, Mr. Olive. Many of you may have heard that there was a Hamilton student that was awarded a substantial college scholarship during the halftime of their football game last Friday night. I would like to recognize Hamilton High School senior Jessica Burke and College Board Director Lee McElroy at this time, if they wouldn't mind coming up to the front here. And I want to tell you a little bit about it, and Lee, if you want to grab one of the mics to be able to talk a little bit about it, and that we can recognize Jessica. College Board contacted us to state that one of our students was to be awarded one of the first large scholarships given through across the state of Arizona through College Board's Big Futures Contest. Our principal at Hamilton High School, Mike Delatorre, was pivotal in the surprise, as Jessica and her parents were told they were going to the game to answer a few trivia questions. And that's what they thought they were going to be doing, and win a prize. So the rest of us knew, and we were watching their faces to see how they would react. The look on Jessica and her parents' faces when College Board presented them with a $40,000 scholarship was priceless. Congratulations, Jessica. Thank you, Lee and College Board. We appreciate the commitment to educating students. And Jessica, good luck narrowing down your prospects. As we know, you have Cornell, UMass, Amherst, UC Davis, and our in-state universities on your lists, and potential universities as you further your education after you leave us. So again, congratulations to you. And again, thank you, Lee and College Board, for the exceptional work that you do in our communities. So if we can get you up here to present the check to you. And
No, I just wanted to highlight what Jessica did was simply, so Big Future is a website that the College Board hosts, and all she did was go onto the website and select 3 scholarships that she wanted to learn more about. That entered her into a nationwide drawing amongst thousands of students nationwide, and luckily she was the proud winner. I'm a Chandler parent. I'm super excited. It's my hometown district, and she and her family were super excited. And I must give kudos to Dr. Narducci and the staff. They were able to keep a secret for a whole week, and it was wonderful. So thank you, everybody. Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations. Next, we have a little bit more work for Frank to do. It's time for your update.
thank you, President Olive and members of the board. This is the last meeting before fall break, so I'll keep it brief, but we do have much to celebrate. And I know you're saying I don't do anything brief, but today we broke ground on the rebuild project of Galveston Elementary School. Many of you were there, and thank you for being there to support the Galveston community. The Galveston community is a central part of the city of Chandler, and we look forward to this state-of-the-art 21st century school continuing to anchor that amazing neighborhood. The exceptional staff and engaged families along with our community resources in that area. We'll continue to be excited to see all the success that continues to happen at Galveston. And if you're in that area, just stop by The build will be between now and through probably October of next year. For those that are in the audience or listening, we're building on the site where the school actually is, and the students will remain on that site until the new building's ready, and they will actually move, be a part of a progression of moving their items over to the new school, and then the other part of the campus will be taken down and turned into the playgrounds and the fields. So they've done a really good job of including the community, the students, their feedback, their inputs, community resources in that area, along with staff, to determine the next steps so that the form of the building matches the function of what they want to achieve there. So we're looking for some great things there. Also, 69 students, CUSD students, are National Merit semifinalists. This is an incredible honor, and we're so proud of the continued efforts of our students, keeping us at the top of this list. Semifinalists are the highest scoring entrants for the National Merit Scholarship in each state. More than 16,000 of the high scorers, representing less than 1% of the nation's high school graduating seniors, will qualify as semifinalists. Our semifinalists will have the opportunity to advance in the competition for merit scholarship awards, which we wind up having a good number of people who meet that requirement. As a matter of fact, I think you've seen a couple at this board meeting in prior years. Varsity offensive lineman at Chandler High School, our Wolves, Mateo Rodriguez, was honored at the recent Cardinals game. Mateo is a nominee of the National Hispanic Heritage Foundation Youth Award, and he was awarded that at the Cardinals game, and I believe it was the Cardinals game where we beat, right? Where we won, yes, and thank you, yes. So it was a good thing. I think he brought them good luck, definitely. The Secondary Dance Festival is happening tonight at the Chandler Center for the Arts. So if you're here, you might want to hop over there too. We have so many talented performers. Be on the lookout for highlights of this event. We will share them on social media, but we have a lot of students participating in that event. More than 100 attendees took part in our recent district-wide college fair. Thank you to all who attended and participated. This event is a great example how CUSD prepares our students for the 4 E's: enrollment, enlistment, employment, or entrepreneurship. And so it was well attended, and we hope to double that each year. Finally, just a quick note that with it being fall break, we are still here for our students and families if need be. We understand this can be a tough time for some without the stability of school and class. If you need to call or reach out, we have many resources and hotlines on our counseling and social services webpage. We'll have a communication coming out by the end of the week that also shares that information. We are a strong CUSD family. School resumes on Tuesday, October 17th. We want to make sure that all of our students are back during that time. And our district offices and our district office and our secondary schools offices will be open to the public during the fall break. Elementary school offices will be open the first week of break. So they're closed the second week of break based on the calendars that our staff work there. So if you need us, reach out to us. And that's it for this update.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Nodici. Next, we have citizens' comments. So this is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, at the conclusion of the open call to the public, individual members of the public body, that's the board, may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the public body, may ask to review a matter, or may ask that the matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the public body shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. All right, tonight we have 9 folks that wanted to speak. Each will have 2 minutes. Ready to go? All right, first person is Brett Wingate.
Good evening, members of the board. I wanted to actually make these comments last meeting. I was unable to because you had so many people show up to make comments. But it relates back to something that I've said before when I've made comments up here, and that is that In 1998, I was among a group of parents that asked this district to look at diversifying the curriculum to better meet the needs of our kids. And the district undertook a survey and asked if there was a need to offer a diversified curriculum. Came back that only 13% said yes. And so the district decided to take no action. That triggered me to go and take my students and move out of the district. This is similar to what I'm seeing happen now with Saxon math. And that dawned on me. I've never seen a group of parents come up and ask about a math program before. I don't think I saw them do this when you had Mathland. And it seems to me that you have an opportunity. You have a highly motivated customer that is telling you that the product that they would like to have
30 seconds.
is available, and they would like you to continue to use it. It's a choice that you're going to make because there are other districts or other places that you can use Saxon math. It's a basis. It will be at other schools. And it's a matter of, do you want to compete for your customers, or do you want to do the same thing you did 25 years ago and say it doesn't matter? So it's up to you. It's a real choice. Thank you.
All right, next we have Zena Prushahovsky. I'm sorry if I got that wrong.
Okay, good evening. Thank you, board members, for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Zena Prushanovsky. I'm a current CUSD mom and an Arizona certified teacher. At my local school, the PTO has always put together great community events to raise additional funds for school equipment. When it was the computers on wheels or the cows or even the shade structure on our playground. So generous contributions that families make throughout the district make a difference in children's happy and memorable lives at their school. Some CUSD schools don't have this ability to provide generous amenities as other PTOs do. Remember that all children deserve to have a safe, shaded playground experience, and when it is being inspected, it should be scrutinized for safety and ADA compliance. I come from a multilingual household. I live in a multilingual household. Many languages are being spoken. I encourage ELL and DLI learning as important for families. So this community does encourage that, and I appreciate that. It is also a national security issue if we can't train our children well. So I appreciate the languages that are taught in CUSD, especially the DLI programs. And languages help us understand cultural diversity and viewpoints. And I believe Chandler Unified has a great groundwork on providing those languages.
30 seconds.
Thank you for supporting these critical learning areas, including mathematics, which I came here because my daughter is gifted in mathematics. So I understand the culture in choosing curriculum, and that's something that I have paid attention to when I moved from the state of Kansas and I chose CUSD. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next we have Stephen Black from Phoenix, Arizona. Steve Black, thank you.
Thank you for the board members to have an opportunity to speak to you. I am in favor of the Saxon curriculum. I've known other schools and other districts been using it, have had great success with it, and many others in terms out there. And I think the Chandler should retain some of that knowledge in keeping those kind of curriculum with that. I think math is just math, and as far as the concern, doesn't matter what infant or backgrounders are there. You still have to know about the calculations, and the only way to do that is practice and try and try and try in terms of the content so you can learn. That's the way the real world is. And every kid in terms out there needs to know to be exposed to that stuff. So I'm in favor. I would like to make sure they pass stuff related to like Saxon as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
All right, now we have Miss Ann Adams.
students, and I do have children at CUSD. I'd like to start by talking about two different types of math. There's always different types of children, and they all deserve to learn in the public school environment. My son has been able to take advantage of something called financial math recently. It was phenomenal. It taught him real life skills, and every kid should have that. It should be a requirement over some of the other courses that you do teach. It was done in an accelerated manner because he had some learning loss and was able to catch up, but I was amazed that he was learning about compound interest and real life skills, and I appreciate that. Chandler Unified School District, my other subject matter is Saxon math. I don't have a gifted child, but I do know that legally concerned parents, guardians, and advocates for the rights for gifted children in Chandler Unified are very upset about the possibility of this leaving their children's lives. They will be serving, not now, but they are looking to serve a legal notice to outline the legal obligations under Arizona law to identify, support, and provide appropriate educational services to gifted students, particularly in the context of mathematics education using Saxon math. Pursuant ARS 15779, the Chandler Unified School District is legally bound to ensure the gifted students within this jurisdiction are identified and provided a suitable educational experience and opportunity, and that is designed to meet their unique needs. So I'd like to remind Ms. Serrano that I want to remind you of this law and that you are legally bound by it. The reason Saxon math is good is it has rigorous content, differentiation, advanced placement, and proven effectiveness. And you've heard from many parents that they support it. So in light of
Time
these,
has expired.
All right, thank you.
Real quick.
Mr.
Ms.
Nucci.
Adams, thank you very much. I do appreciate you coming up and speaking. I just want to create one misnomer or clarify one misnomer. Our gifted programs have never used Saxon math. It's not an approved curriculum for the IEP the gifted program that our students are in. Our gifted programs have used an accelerated curriculum that's quite different than Saxon math. Our Saxon math has been at our traditional sites, which isn't gifted. So those programs are not gifted, and they don't fall under the ordinance you talked about. But I just wanted to clarify that so people know that our gifted students at Knox Gifted, Weinberg Gifted, and our satellite sites, as well as our cluster gifted programs, because we've been getting calls from our gifted parents saying, well, wait a second, what's that curriculum? We don't know anything about it. I just wanted to clarify that it's not a gifted curriculum. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Thank
what
you.
curriculum do we use in the gifted?
Ms.
We
Hager,
use
Dr.
Eureka Math.
I'm-
At this time, we use Eureka Math. Eureka Math.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I need to bring us back into order so we can keep on going with our public comments. Next, we need to hear from Victor Hardy.
Mr. Narducci, Dr. Gilbert, board members. This is a blessing for educators and staff. From the Congregational Church of the Valley, 240 South Cooper Road, Chandler, Arizona, 85225. Most gracious God, thank you always for blessing us with the most capable educators. Our teachers deserve all the good in the world. I know that with you, they are always blessed with the grace only you can give. May our teachers continue to be showered with your blessing of grace and mercies, so that they may be inspired to continue being a blessing to others. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of our teachers. They work hard to help elevate our knowledge. And with this prayer, we hope our appreciation for them reaches their hearts. Thank you for blessing us with teachers who are not only selfless, but motivators, who help us find purpose and meaning in school. As much as our teachers look after us, bless our students with the heart and desire to also care for them. Glory to God in the highest. Amen. Presented this 24th day of September, 2023. Reverend Victor E. Hardy, officiating pastor,
30
Congregational Church of the Valley. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hardy. Next, we have Robin Gelman. Gelman, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robin Gelman. My daughter is a special ed student in a self-contained classroom at Castile High School. She has a very rare medical condition that causes her to be starving 24/7. She will do whatever she can to get food. She will dig in the trash can. If she sees it in somebody else's plate, she'll reach for it. I have repeatedly tried to explain this to the staff at Castile, and I've tried to explain the impact that this could be. Lots of people die from Prader-Willi syndrome every year because of 1, overeating and perforating their stomachs, or 2, overeating causing diabetes, heart failure, respiratory distress, and all kinds of other issues. Her metabolism is 60%, so she cannot burn calories in the way that we can on a daily basis. So the first night of school, Meet the Teacher night, the teacher, who has had possession of my daughter's IEP and diagnosis since the previous year, brought in Texas-sized donuts with frosting and sprinkles and put them on the table in front of my daughter's desk. Thankfully, I was able to get between her and the box and get her out of the classroom before she saw it. Otherwise, it would have been the end of the night for us. Since then, the teacher has also decided to have a pizza birthday party for herself to celebrate her birthday. I've repeatedly
30
made
seconds.
requests to please stop with the food in her classroom. Not only is it unhealthy and unsafe, it is life-threatening. So my question and my request is to please stop with food in the classroom. And while I understand that some kids need to learn life skills and learn to cook, I would ask that those things that they cook be healthy recipes and not things like brownies and cakes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gelman. Mr. Narducci, can you look into that for us? Okay. Next, we have Darren Holcomb.
In February of 2021, 5 girls came forward and told the administration of sexual misconduct. Your administration silenced them. They told an assistant principal that their teacher for months had been repeatedly touching them in an unwelcome manner. To be clear, this administration had documented the sexual exploitation of multiple minors occurring over a period of months, and they did not report. Instead, they engaged in a willful cover-up. Instead of reporting a crime, they committed countless more. The law clearly states that their responsibility is to report the information to the proper authorities for a full and lawful investigation. They broke that law. They did not report. They did not protect what is required by federal law to be protected. Your district's corporate culture of dismissing and discrediting claims of sexual harassment must stop. Whistleblowers cannot be treated like wrongdoers. These girls stood up for their civil rights, and the law demanded it to be reported. Leadership told me they reported it, but they lied. Instead, they scheduled a meeting to further investigate. We were not invited to this meeting. It took place without our knowledge, permission, or consent. This meeting was attended by 4 of your adult staff members and 1 child. Again, this young girl could not be dissuaded from the truth, and again, she told her story. They victimized her repeatedly. This district then documented the actual knowledge of sexual harassment of 5 minors and did not report. Instead, they put him back in the classroom with children unsupervised. The sexual harassment continued. The district silenced their voices by accepting a resignation in lieu of an investigation. They are the mandatory reporters, but have yet to
30
report
seconds.
to anyone but legal counsel. It was my wife and I that reported to the police, the state, and the federal government. I call on you now to honor those young voices. Tell them that you will now work with law enforcement, set an example, hold accountable those at fault. Tell our community that this abuse of power will not be tolerated. Be the leaders we elected you to be.
All right, next we have Robin Maracunas.
Hello, thank you. CTA parents like myself have been in communication with Mr. Haig. This is the author of Saxon Math. He has been in talks with the HMH publishers. This is his statement from his website, August 2023. Many customers have asked us about the future of Saxon Math. We have good news to share with you. Saxon Math has been renewed for publication digitally and in print. For a couple of years, rumors and reports have circulated that Saxon Math would no longer be available. HMH, the company that owns publishing rights for Saxon Math, is shifting more of its offerings to digital programs and away from print programs. So Saxon Math, along with several other programs, had been scheduled for retirement. The good news is that HMH has just approved a proposal to continue selling the currently available editions of Saxon Math for both school and homeschool use. HMH will sell the printed versions through June 30th of 2025. This is on their website that all of us can see. Saxon Math remains in print 4 decades after its founding because of the amazing loyalty of the teachers and parents who choose Saxon for their students. We share your passion for the success of your students, and we are immensely gratified by your continuing support. This is from Stephen Hake himself. Please let it be known that our district advocating on behalf of its CTA, Chandler Traditional Academy students, to hire up representatives at HMH Publications would have gone a long way to keep Saxon Math as continuous printed option for our accelerated CTA students. Saxon Math has been a successful math learning program since 2011, 2012 at least. That's when my oldest entered CTA kindergarten. That's over a decade of success and pride instilled in our CTA academies. Why change this amazing accelerated math program that incorporates incremental development and fosters continual review? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next person is Tracy Ireland from Tempe, Arizona.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Is it working? Okay, good. Yes, Tempe, but my people that I babysit are in Chandler. So I just want to make that clarification right there. And they are asking me, they have dinner time right now. These are kids from 2 years old to like 14. One of them has already pulled a student out of the school. And my understanding is you have lost 900 students. I think that cost you about $7 million. And I think the Saxon Math is an issue here. I am that student that did very well in math, and my mom pulled me out of the regular math class because I was bored and put me into a higher math class, which I think might be the CTA level that we're all speaking about here. And then I think you have the gifted level, if I'm correct. And I just don't understand why we're dealing with my math, because a lot of students are having problems with it. Some of them are flunking out. The teachers are saying they don't like to teach it. I'm not really sure how this all transpired, but I think it's a very easy fix. As the lady before me said, it is back and it's ready to go. I'm really asking you to please, as a former type student that was really good in math and was getting bored, please do right by the current students. I think if you keep losing students, that's not going to help you. I mean, you've got other choices. You've got charter and you've got homeschooling. Homeschooling's using Saxon Math. Some of them told us about it. So I just really implore you to do right by the mothers and the children that are in the CTA level. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you. That brings our public comments to a close. Next, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Narducci?
President, all of the members of the board, I present to you and recommend for approval the consent agenda as printed and published.
All right, thank you. Could I get a motion?
Mr. Olive, I move that we approve the consent agenda as published.
Thank you. Could I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please say aye.
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 Thank you. That one passes. Next week gets us to our action items. First thing is Galveston Elementary. Ms. Berry.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. As you know, today was the groundbreaker for Galveston Elementary, which was super exciting. You saw the pictures earlier. So this is an agenda item related to Galveston Elementary. The district, as you know, is rebuilding Galveston Elementary School. The replacement school will be approximately 72,000 square feet with a capacity to hold up to 750 students. A request for qualifications was issued to McCarthy Building Company, and they were selected as the general contractor of record. The design and construction documents are now complete, and we have finalized the remainder of scope for the replacement school in the amount of $21,355,714. These divisions include finished carpentry, glass and glazing, drywall, paint packages, roofing, plumbing, HVAC, electric, fire sprinklers, site concrete, landscape and irrigation. So tonight we're recommending approval of GMP number 3. As you know, we've approved GMP 1 and 2 with McCarthy Building Companies in the amount of $21,355,714 for Galveston Elementary.
All right, thank you, Ms. Berry. We need to get a motion on the table if we're going to have any discussion. Could I get a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move to approve GMP number 3 as presented.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Oh, say it
I'll
again.
second.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Mrs. Berry, is number 3 is the last GMP that we're going to be looking at approving? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any furniture that's going to follow on behind?
There will be, but the furniture will be purchased by us. You'll see an RFP or utilizing one of the contracts. Is that correct? And I have Kyle Walker here to confirm. Yes. Tom is out of town, so I apologize. But
Okay.
yes.
Outside of this contract.
Okay. Joel, did you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. If nobody else has any more questions, we can go ahead and vote on it. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Aye.
I'll abstain.
All right, thank you. Next,
Did you
that
get my
brings us
abst-
to
Mr.
Castile High
President,
School.
Did you get my abstention?
Yes. Did you note that, Veronica? Kurt had an abstention, yeah. Next, that brings us to Castile High School, the turf field conversion. Ms. Berry again.
Mr. President, members of the board, the district seeks to convert our high school stadium fields to synthetic turf over the course of 2 phases. Castile High School will be part of phase 1, and pending governing board approval, construction will begin December of 2023. Scope of work will include removal of natural turf, installation of synthetic turf, cooling infill, and shock pad, storm drain system. A request for qualification was issued and core construction was selected as the general contractor of record. The district has negotiated a guaranteed maximum price, which is called a GMP, for Castile High School plus the purchase of all phase turf in the amount of $4,069,469, which the district believes is fair and reasonable given the current market conditions. Recommended approval of core construction for turf conversion at Castile High School and purchase of all phase 2 turf in the amount of $4,069,469. So for clarification, you already approved Basha when we came to you the first time. This will be Castile's complete construction and turf, but also purchasing the turf for Chandler High, Perry High, and Hamilton.
All right. Could we get a motion so we could have discussion?
Mr. President, I recommend approval of core construction for turf conversion at Castile High School and the purchase of all phase 2 turf in the amount of $4,069,469.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mr. Roars.
So we started off at $2 million per school, and then Basha came in at 2.8. Castile is also going to be 2.8.
So Castile, the purchase today, the total amount's $4 million, and that includes Castile and then the turf for all 3, which was Hamilton, Chandler, and Perry. And so the actual amount, I don't know, do we have the specific amount for Castile broke out in that $4 million?
Will it exceed $2.8 million?
Excuse me?
Is the final project Castile, will the amount exceed $2.8 million?
This GMP includes that plus 3 others, so I don't have that broke out on this GMP in that format. So if you look at the GMP and how it's broke out, what we have included in there is all of Castile, but then the turf part too. And so let's see here. Let's see if I can see the turf, artificial turf.
Basha is 2.8 in here.
The gist of my question is the price going to go up for the other 4 schools that we're going to do?
No, actually, we will come back with one more GMP, and that is estimated to be $7,751,000. So the amount that we projected originally was $14,695,433. Basha was $2.8 million, approximately $2,874,699. This includes Castile. All of them will be a little bit different. They're not the exact same because they might have a different drainage system. The square footage might be slightly different. And so some of them might be more expensive, some less. But all 5 fields will be a total of $14,695,433. So this is just Castile plus we purchased so we could guarantee the turf expenditures for Castile, of course, Chandler, Perry, and Hamilton. But I apologize, we don't have it broke out in the GMP like that, so we don't have a specific amount for just Castile in that.
Well, you gave me this cute little calculator here. So 14695 divided by 5 schools?
We have 5 schools.
4 schools.
We have 5 total that we will be doing.
Bosch is already done. Okay, it's 2.9 million each.
There's a little different in each, Mr. Roars, there's a little difference in each of the demolition and site infrastructure work, which is.
Frank, talk into your microphone, please.
I'll try to, Joe. The site work rough is a little different from each site because depending on what they're dealing with at that site with the drain, as Ms. Berry said, but it looks like if you add up all the things that are included in that GMP, we're looking at about $3 million, so right around the same cost. And as far as costs going up, well, they go up every time we go out and get a new estimate on projects.
Yeah, but going from 2 million to 2.9 is a 50% increase in the original cost we were told. That's not a little bit. That's a lot. So I'm getting a little concerned that this is getting a little bit out of control here. I understand prices are going up everywhere. I get that. But at some point,
This actually fits everything that we've been discussing for the last handful of months. Or, like we said, the total project estimate that we've brought to the board was $14,695,433. We believe all of this fits within that. We'll have one more GMP, like we said, that will come out to finish Chandler, Perry, and Hamilton. We've already purchased, after tonight, if the board approves it, we'll have purchased the turf, then actually just the construction piece to finish those 3 fields. We do feel like we'll be very close to that estimate.
okay, so the original quote was this 14,695, and you cut one school out in order to stay under that.
We cut
original.
one of the schools out, yes,
Okay.
but we actually had a budget for that from the very beginning.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion, anybody? Joel, you all right?
I'm good.
All right. In that case, we'll bring this one to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you. That carries. Let me remember where I am here. Next we get to the TANs. Ms. Berry.
All right. Mr. President, members of the board, and tonight I have 2 guests with me. I have Bill Davis and Erica Combs that are going to speak to you a little bit about truth anticipation notes, but I'm going to read to you just a little bit about it, and then I'm going to let them present. Tonight, we're going to be requesting permission to approve truth anticipation notes. So tax anticipation notes are used to cover operation deficits created by uneven property tax collection and state aid receipts. During the first half of each fiscal year, the district incurs expenses, including payroll and insurance trust payments, which can exceed available revenue. When this occurs, the district experiences temporary operating or cash flow deficits. Tax anticipation notes are used to cover these deficits until sufficient property tax and state aid revenue is received by the district. The fiscal impact to the district is dependent upon the amount of tax anticipation notes issued and the interest rate at time of issuance. Therefore, it is recommended that the board adopt a resolution authorizing the sale of tax anticipation notes in an amount not to exceed $15 million. Sorry, I called that truth anticipation notes, but it's tax anticipation notes. I apologize for that. But anyways, tonight, Bill Davis has been working with us since the mid-90s in our district, and we've been very fortunate to have him and his firm, and Erica, who's been working with our district for a long time too. And they're going to talk to you and give you a little presentation for your understanding. I know we have 2 new board members since we have presented this topic, so we wanted to make sure that we covered it, explained it, and then, of course, for the public too, to just be able to see the presentation. It's not a hearing of any shape or form, just a presentation so that you understand it and then understand the resolution that we're asking for approval for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Narducci, good evening. Again, my name's Bill Davis, my colleague Erica Coombs. We're going to kind of walk through the presentation, as Ms. Berry said. We'll try to do it as quickly as we can, but please
Again, can you please speak in the
don't hesitate
microphone
to
better?
stop. Yes, I will do that. Please don't hesitate to stop us and ask questions. So if we'll go to, let's see. Yeah, let's do that. We're getting the technology figured out here. So I wanted to take a few minutes just to talk a little bit about school finance and how cash works within school districts and the county treasurer's office, so that when we get to the end, we're going to talk about the tools that districts can use for cash flow management, and then specifically kind of drill down into the tax anticipation notes. So the first page, obviously, you're all familiar with Arizona school finance, and the first step is really adopting the budget. Your revenues comprise a number of different things, but the two primary revenue sources are your property taxes, both primary and secondary, and your state aid or state equalization. Thank you. Much better. Thanks. Next page. So again, Arizona school finance, everything that we're talking about tonight is really dictated by Arizona state statutes, and we've kind of given you reference to where those statutes are. The next page, these state laws kind of break these funds up, and I'm going to talk a little bit further about this, but by state law, again, every school district in the state their ex officio treasurer is the county treasurer. So the Maricopa County treasurer manages all of your cash, all of the property taxes, all the state aid goes straight to the county treasurer. They invest it on your behalf and manage that process. Under fund description and account 1, these are really kind of our operating funds that we call. And you can see on the far right, they're budget controlled. And if there is a cash flow deficit, that's where you'll either register a warrant, draw on the line of credit, or utilize tax anticipation notes. And it's key to remember that the other funds under account 2 are not allowed to utilize registered warrants. Next page, please. So again, remember that your treasurer, if again, the treasurer basically manages your checkbook, is the way I like to think about it. So all the cash goes there. You have payroll warrants, all of the utility warrants, everything gets cleared through the county treasurer and their servicing bank. In Maricopa County, that servicing bank is JP Morgan Chase. They bid that out about every 5 years. And these just give you an illustration of who the servicing banks are in Arizona right now. Different counties have different servicing banks, but it's basically the larger banks. Next page. So now we get to what are the tools that schools have to manage their cash flow needs. And as Ms. Berry mentioned, if you think about your checkbook, typically we get, our paydays every 2 weeks. Schools are a little bit different. State aid comes in once a month. Our legislature withholds some of that state aid, rolls it over even sometimes into July. And your property taxes really come in 2 major installments, November 1st and May 1st. So there are periods of time after school starts that you're spending a lot of operational dollars, but there's very little revenue coming in. And that does create, at times, cash flow deficits. So these are the real tools that schools have available to manage to those deficits. You can get a state aid advance request. We'll talk about that. The line of credit is set up by the treasurer through the servicing bank, or you can utilize tax anticipation notes, which is really what we're talking about today. So for state aid advance requests, statutes require that the district board adopt a resolution. And then the next page, it's very brief. This form is filled out, and you identify the deficit and use that in the request to the state. Now, the district has utilized this in the past. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but really what you're doing is you're asking the State Department of Revenue to pay you your state aid in advance of when they would normally pay it. Depending upon their budget needs, their cash flows, they can say yes and they can say no. There's no mandate for them to do it. And or they may debate the cash flow schedule that we provide to them. So it's an option, but it's not a certainty that it'll be available. So the next slide is warrants. And again, warrants are synonymous with the line of credit. So it was about 20 years ago that the line of credit statute came into being, basically with bank technology. Just facilitated the process, but they're one and the same. And that's where, if you remember back on that one slide where we had our operating funds, we call them the levy funds. If a warrant's presented to the county treasurer and there's insufficient balance in all of those combined funds, then they're going to automatically draw down on that line of credit. And so that the warrant clears, and state statutes then prescribe, basically dictate that the first tax dollar or the first state aid dollar that comes in to your account pays that line of credit off. So in essence, you're borrowing, in this case, from JP Morgan Chase for that period of time while there's a deficit, if you don't have tax anticipation notes, and if there is a cash flow deficit. So it's a very efficient tool. The cost is pretty high today. It's prime rate. So you get no tax exempt advantage, which is key, and we'll talk about that. But it's efficient in that if the deficit is not too large and it doesn't last very long, it's just in and out. There's no fee. It's just the interest expense for that period of time. Where it gets expensive is if that deficit is deep, it's big, and it lasts a long time. And you can kind of visualize if under statute, as I mentioned, the first tax dollar that comes in has to pay that off. But then that could bring your account balance down to zero again, and another warrant comes in and you have to draw the line of credit. So sometimes you get into this spiral over the course of a month or two, and it can get pretty expensive. So then we get to tax anticipation notes, and this statute was created in the early 90s for this primary purpose. It's another option, another tool, if you will, in your toolbox, and it has some similarities to the line of credit, but provides a little bit more flexibility and some additional benefit, which is again one of the reasons why we're here this evening. Okay, the next slide, please. So why issue tax anticipation notes? I'm going to start at the bottom bullet point first. As I mentioned, the line of credit can be very efficient, but if your deficit is anticipated to be larger than $1 million and or last a long time, the tax anticipation notes can be much more efficient. They're used to cover projected operating deficits. So what we do is we'll put a cash flow schedule together. We'll look at last year's actual, and then we'll project out, say, this fiscal year's cash flows, FY 23-24. And Lana and her team have a very detailed, we do it, all of the cash flows, but Lana and her team have a very detailed cash flow model that we use as well. And that's why we're here tonight, because there's projected, or there's an anticipated need mid-year, mid-fiscal year, to potentially have this $15 million deficit or something close to that. So next slide. We designed the program to work with the county treasurer, and over the last several years, the county treasurer has actually been buying the tax anticipation notes directly and investing their county funds, the funds that they manage, which include the district's funds, in those tax anticipation notes. The process is pretty simple. We prepare the cash flows, identify the deficit, when it's going to happen, how large it's going to be. The The board adopts a resolution, which is what you have before you this evening. We complete the documentation and then issue the notes. The notes are securities. They're secured by your primary property tax receipts or revenues and your state aid monies, not your secondary property tax, and again, it's just those levy funds. The difference, primary difference, is that with a line of credit, you don't touch it until you have a deficit. And the treasurer reaches out to JP Morgan Chase and borrows on your behalf to pay those warrants, and just what you need. What we do with the tax anticipation note is we borrow in anticipation of that deficit. The proceeds are deposited with the county treasurer. They have a net proceeds account, and they're invested on your behalf by the treasurer. And then when that warrant hits and there's insufficient funds in those operating funds, those levy funds, they'll draw money out of that note proceeds account and just transfer it over. The benefit here is that those dollars are earning interest for you while they're outstanding, while you borrowed that note. And again, our goal is to try to reduce or significantly eliminate the cost of that cash flow borrowing, because you can reinvest those dollars. I've kind of talked a little bit about the benefits here. We're going to reduce or eliminate the interest expense for this cash flow borrowing. Oftentimes, when we've run history, we actually come out on the positive end of this in terms of making more money than it actually cost us. So not only does it reduce, sometimes eliminates, but even generates some additional funds that ultimately go to reduce your property tax bill. Next slide. I guess this is the last slide. This shows, as one of the earlier slides mentioned, we've issued about just over $2 billion since the early 90s. This is, since 2016, we've issued just over $1 billion of notes for school districts in Arizona. You'll see a trend, last thing, and then I'll kind of open it up for questions, but you can see the trend over the last 5 years has been significantly down. You know, back in 2016, we were borrowing north of $200 million collectively, and this year we're down to close to zero. The primary reason is that fund balances that schools have been able to maintain have grown primarily because of the federal stimulus dollars. And so not only Chandler, but every other school district in the county and the state still have large fund balances, and therefore no cash flow needs, no cash flow deficit. So we haven't needed to borrow. So with that, I'll kind of open it up, and Eric and I will try to answer your questions if you have any.
All right, thank you very much. Does anybody on the board have any questions?
So what I was interested in, you talked about this a little bit, what is the cost to the district for financing this?
So it's a very good question. There's two costs. You have your interest cost and your cost of issuance. And the notes are priced so that they generate a premium. So for example, if the district's going to issue ultimately $15 million, the interest rate will be set with the county treasurer, and their index is the U.S. Treasury rate for the 1-year Treasury, or in our case, it might be a 6-month Treasury, plus 25 or 50 basis points. So that's going to be our cost in the interest. We build in a premium that runs about $3 to $4 per thousand. So the cost of issuance is going to range somewhere between $45,000 and $60,000 total, and that includes our fees, legal fees, and any other documentation that comes into it. So your overall cost today with the 6-month Treasury is around 5%. It'd be just a little bit over that for that 6-month period.
Well, it used to be about 2. So.
Yeah, it used to be, and even lower than that.
0.
Yeah.
Yeah, or 0.
Yeah. So the interest rate fluctuates. We won't know what that interest rate is until and unless we need to borrow the notes. The resolution this evening does not obligate the district to proceed. What the resolution does is it authorizes district staff to move forward if it's deemed necessary. So if we wake up in November or December And these cash flows are telling us, yeah, we're going to see this deficit, we'll get moving. And tonight's action, if you would decide to approve it, will allow us to do that without coming back. If we decide that or determine through those cash flows that it doesn't look like we're going to need it or it's going to be very, very small, we'll just push this resolution off to the side and there'll be no cost whatsoever to the district.
Okay.
The bank servicing rate is prime, and that's approximately 8.5%, and that may increase. So there is a significant difference, and it'll just be monitoring the cash flows and figuring out which is going to be the least cost to the district.
So yeah, I think you confused me a little bit. I understood the one-year treasury, 5% or so plus whatever. But you're saying 8.5%?
For the warrants. So if for the warrant, that's the rate that's being used.
For the registered warrants, which is
Yes,
a
the
different
registered
product.
warrants.
Right, that's not the tax anticipation, no.
All right, so here's the question, it's actually for you. So we know we have $95 million in reserve funds. Why don't we self-finance this in anticipation of getting the state revenue? Because I think the state's good for it whenever it comes in. And then we don't have to pay the 5%.
So if you can recall, if you wouldn't mind, will you pull back up your PowerPoint with the district funds sheet, if that's okay? So we have, like I said, 77 different funds. They've listed a number of these. You can see account 1 and account 2. Some of our reserves with specific funds that are for unreserved fund balances are in category 2. You can't use those by state statute for category 1. But we also know we're very conscientious. We have, like Mr. Davis said, we anticipate every year being short on cash. If you look back, Chandler Unified used to have to sell $50 million worth of tax anticipation notes to cover the deficit. We do believe that there's a chance twice this year we're going to go under and not have enough cash to fulfill that need until we get the state aid payments, until we get our tax notes in. Especially, we don't know specifically when the state's going to give us a portion of that $300 million it's like 3%, the one-time funding. We're going to pay out in October, but we're not sure. They haven't told us when we're receiving that. So based on our payroll schedules right now, based on our voucher payments and the history of what we do with accounts payable, we know there's a potential of when we'll be negative. But Mr. Roars, the reason we can't use that as a state statute, we're not allowed to do that. So that's why we have to either have TANs available or we will have to use the line of credit. And that's what Mrs. Combs was referring to at 8.5%. So this is a better product, we feel like, for our taxpayers. When we've been very successful with it in the past, and we feel like we've saved our taxpayer dollars. Now, as you know, there's a huge rollover. Our state in the Great Recession rolled over almost 3 payments. So it's a little less than $900 million the state owes us for this fiscal year that they'll pay us next year. So as you know, we don't get all of our cash for this year in the fiscal year. They borrowed. That's how the general fund didn't have enough money. And so they borrowed during the Great Recession over $900 million to survive, the state did, and was to be able to pay school districts. So unfortunately, that's part of the reason we don't have enough cash is because of that, what happened in the Great Recession. And they still owe us over $800 million that they pay us in July. But of course, as you know, our fiscal year goes from July through June. All of our payroll is in July through June, and that's our 91% of our maintenance and operations fund. That's where a majority of our payments come out of. So just probably a little bit more information than
It's not paying us $800 million, but the entire school system.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yes. So my question is that this is not to exceed $15 million. We don't have $15 million in free cash?
Actually, at those times, we will not. In those funds, there is a chance we will not. With the state aid delayed payments between all of the funds that are up there and our payment system and payroll and accounts payable, we will not, potentially. Just like in the past. That's what's happened in every year besides last year. Then Mr. Davis had spoke about it. Reserve balances are up in the number of funds because of the COVID relief dollars. But now we're getting back to where everybody is spending those dollars down, and you're going to start to see where we're going to be coming back asking for truth anticipation notes now, or tax anticipation notes. And in the future, that number is going to go up. Next year, it'll be bigger, and it will probably be back to the same amount that we had in the past within a few years. And if you'd like to see the detail, you're welcome to come in. I know you haven't had a chance ever to come in and see me, but you're welcome to come in. We can go through all the spreadsheets. We would love to show you that. It's pretty complex.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Marsden.
I'm hoping my microphone is working, but Mrs. Berry, you said something about how much the state rolls over into the next fiscal year. Approximately how much is rolled over for CUSD specifically, not for the state?
Sure, it's about 3% or so of that total amount overall, but some of that's broke out between, again, it's our state aid payment and our additional state aid, so we have two different amounts in there.
So roughly, we're looking that amount that is rolled over is actually more than we're asking for the tax anticipation note authorization.
Absolutely, and we do have reserves in the funds that are up there in account number 1. We'll be going over our annual financial report. We were hoping to do that tonight, but unfortunately the state is not out with their school site report, so we cannot report the annual financial report until they release those documents. So we're going to be doing that in October, but we do have reserves in those funds, and we anticipate and we prepare for that. But this just helps us make sure that we're maximizing, again, the district's funds and the community's funds when we do have a deficit, and utilizing the best tool instead of having to register warrants.
Okay. Then the other question I have is, I know that when we do receive the money for the tax anticipation notes, it is deposited in the treasurer's office, and it is actually invested in the treasurer's office, by the treasurer's office. Approximately how much in interest are we looking at that the treasurer will pay us percentage-wise on that $15 million?
Mr. President.
Vice President.
It's a good question. The treasurer is allowed under state law to invest in U.S. Treasury and agency securities. They're limited to, I think, a 3-year, 5-year time horizon, so final maturity. Today, that return is in the 4 to 4.5% range. So, theoretically, if we're issuing in November, December of this year, rates might be a little bit higher. That portfolio of theirs, goes up and down as securities mature out and they invest in new securities, but it'll be in that range.
And so really, the cost of this is the difference in the spread between those two interest rates, plus the servicing costs at the very beginning to issue these tax anticipation notes, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're really looking at even less money, so it really does, than the over 8% that we're looking for registered warrants then.
That's correct.
So this is really, I think, a very good financial move for us to save our taxpayers significant amounts of money. Thank you.
I was just going to point out, this tax anticipation notes aren't rated. They're a short-term financing, but the district having reserves really does help your GO long-term bond rating. And this district has the highest school district rating in the state. So having those reserves really does help your cost of borrowing significantly in the general obligation bond.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Worth, do you have any questions?
No, but I'll make a motion if you want me to.
I think Mr. Ono has a question before we go do a motion.
Just really quickly, I really appreciate all this information. It was presented very clearly, I think. I'm also wondering, and Ms. Berry, you can probably respond to this as well, if this is also taking into consideration further possible unknowns as far as state funding goes due to the possible changes of like live expected funding that we may or may not receive with the variable we know that's out there with the expanded school vouchers. We don't really have a number on that yet, and I think there's some estimates that it could reach even $900 million. So would this also, should something like that happen where we don't get the funding that's expected at that right time, this would also help support us addressing those gaps?
So I think that what you're talking about with right now with the state budget being almost right now even, there's not too much of a surplus right now in the state budget, and they're anticipating the ESAs to potentially grow, which could cause an issue if the revenues do not come in at the level that they're expected to. So they'd have to potentially dip into the state's rainy day fund, or the legislature would have to make an adjustment to their budget and their reserves first. But in the future, If they have to roll more payments over, I think that's where there could be a problem in the future. If they have to roll more of our payments because they don't have enough in the general fund to pay us, so the $850 million that they already owe the state right now, if that grows even more, then these tax anticipation notes could potentially have to grow because we'll get less revenue in. That could happen someday. But I think the state will eventually adopt or will make some adjustments within their budget first, so we won't have to utilize it. We should be guaranteed our payments, and hopefully they'll fix something and have to utilize their reserves first before that happens.
Okay, that's
Would you
good
like to
know.
add anything to that?
No, I think that covers it very well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, guys. Does anybody else have any other questions we need to cover? All right, in that case, let's see if we get a motion on the table to recommend approval of tax anticipation notes. Could I get one? Mr. Worth?
Yes. I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the sale of tax anticipation notes in an amount not to exceed $15 million.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All right, great. Is there any further discussion? All right, in that case, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everybody. Next, that brings us to Dr. Nance presenting us with something about professional support, staff bereavement, and leave policy.
Mr. President, members of the board, as a reminder, we're replacing the sick leave terminology with the new paid time off terminology. So Chandler School District recommends updating policy GCCHC, professional support staff bereavement leave, to ensure we are in compliance. Sorry, those should be separate words, with policy GCCA. Recommend approval of policy GCCHC, professional support staff bereavement leave.
All right, thank you. Could we get a motion on the table so we could have a discussion?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve policy GCCHC, professional support staff bereavement leave.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or discussion? All right, in that case, we'll go ahead and vote on this one. All those in favor of approving policy GCCHC as presented, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you. That one carries. Next, we're going to Dr. Nance again for professional support, medical leave assistance.
Mr. President, members of the board, Chandler School District recommends updating policy GCCG, professional support staff voluntary transfer of accrued sick leave, which is the medical leave assistance program. Exhibits GCCGEA, GCCGEB, GCCGEC, and GCCGED. The update will replace the word sick leave with paid time off leave to ensure we are in compliance with policy GCCA. Recommend approval of policy GCCG, professional support staff voluntary transfer of accrued sick leave, medical leave assistant program. The exhibits do not require board approval.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion on the table?
Mr. President, I move to approve policy GCCG, professional/support staff voluntary transfer of accrued sick leave, medical leave assistance program.
All right, thank you. Could we get a second?
I'll second.
Second. Okay, thank you. Is there any questions or discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment. I think that this is a really good policy that we have for those who, for basically the public to know that this allows staff members to donate some of their accrued paid time off to someone who doesn't have enough paid time off to deal with a medical emergency or other situations where they need time off and they don't have it. So I think this is a real beneficial thing for our employees and for to make us feel really like a great workplace and people who care about each other. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion on this item? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of approving policy GCCG, please say aye. Aye?
Aye.
All right. Did we get you, Ms. Serrano? Kurt?
Aye.
Aye, okay, aye for everybody. All right, next is item 8.06. That was the hearing officer's recommendation. Do we still need to do that one? Okay. Next is the approval of the hearing officer's recommendation to expel student 2023-0927. Could we get a motion on that one?
Yes, Mr. President, I move to approve the hearing officer's recommendation to expel student 2023-0927.
All right, could I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All right. I think it's inadvisable to have discussion on this one. Could we go ahead and do a vote? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 I abstain.
Okay, thank you. Next, that brings us to, that's the end of our action items. That brings us to our roadmap for the board. Coming up soon, we have a visit from Chandler High School to talk about their progress on their International Baccalaureate program. We're going to look at bond and override update. Is that still on for next time? For October 18th. We're going to talk to the foreign exchange students. We get to see those guys. And there's a board planning session on the 27th. And the Maricopa County meeting that we talked about that letter on is on the 18th. That brings us to the end of that. Now we get to do our board member current events. Anybody have anything going on? Mr. Roars?
Yeah, two things. I attended the Chandler Gilbert Community College 30th year celebration today. They did talk about some of the new programs. One I found, particularly fascinating is an artificial intelligence program that they're rolling out. In the two classes that they're starting off with is Intro to AI and to Machine Learning. This is partially sponsored by Intel, who's pushing this over at CGCC. One time I asked is that how do we link this to our own curriculum at AI so we don't have to develop it ourselves, so our kids can get a lot of the prerequisites out of the way to be in the pipeline to get into this program. I think this is something that's really going to explode on us. They also have a program for semiconductor manufacturing. It's also sponsored by Intel that we should link into to get our prerequisites in line for our students so they can go right into that program. And then from CGCC, go right into Intel, into their internal training programs. A lot of you probably also got your property tax notice. I just got mine. So paying $3,500 in property taxes, about $2,000 goes to the Chandler district for their base funding, the override, and the bonds. So it's about 55% of your tax bill actually goes to support us. So thank you very much to the community. I know it's a swacking amount, but hopefully we can put it to good use. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Worth, do you have anything today?
I do not.
Thank you. Ms. Serrano, do you have anything?
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks with celebratory events since our last meeting, but I do want to especially recognize the Contigo Festival kickoff that was held at our downtown Chandler Library. So many of our Chandler Unified High School students participated in the event by tabling, representing different Latin American countries. They were incredibly creative with activities for all of the guests that ranged, of course, from 3-year-olds all the way to adulthood, and they just really took a lot of time and pride in the projects that they presented. We also had students who performed through ballet folklorico. That was beautiful to see. And I just want to make sure that our students in the district that participated and volunteered all of their time in preparing for this event are recognized and seen. I'm really thankful for them. A couple of other students to recognize as a personal point of privilege. We have ACP High School student Camille Baker, who was selected as one of 45 rising juniors and seniors across the country to serve as a page in the U.S. Senate. this last summer. That's a really big deal to our community. So I want to acknowledge Camille Baker, congratulate her personally, and encourage her to keep going for these type of opportunities. We also have Chandler High School student, Markayla Shirley, who was just recognized as Student of the Month by our Arizona State Board. She's a high school student at Chandler High, so congratulations to Markayla. And finally, just a little reminder, we have only 2 days left to register for the Holiday Assistance Drive that our Chandler Care Center offers every year. So the deadline to register for that is September 29th. Please be sure to spread the word and encourage people who might be able to utilize that help to register. They can visit the Chandler Care Center website to register for that aid. Again, the deadline is September 29th, and I just want to wish everybody a safe and healthy fall break. I think we are all ready for one. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Mausden, welcome back.
Thank you. I attended the Galveston groundbreaking this morning, and it was really great to see all the students who were involved in it and the excitement of the staff and the community for us starting the new school. So it was a great little event, and we got everybody back inside relatively quickly because this morning started out kind of warm. So, and I would like to also do a shout out to our artwork for our art masterpiece that's up on the wall here in the boardroom, and also some of the advertisement, shall we say, for our food and nutrition program in the back. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Mausden, you get the last word tonight. Meeting adjourned.